Hi everyone. Welcome to the content video for Module 7. This is really about the introduction to physical health in nutrition and fitness. And I apologize, I know this is a little different having me stand up, but the truth be told that it just drives me crazy to sit down all the time. I am not a person that sits down well, and I'm not a person that sits down and teaches well. So I'm just going to try it today standing up. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just kind of going to throw out an invitation to you to try and think about or engage in the topic of health and fitness or overall physical health in a way that might be a little different than what you are typically used to. And I know a lot of you are kinesiology majors, and obviously if you're taking this class, you're a little bit more interested in the topic. But typically what happens is there are people that are already convinced that health and fitness is really important and put a good part of their time and energy into that, or way more of the population. And obviously if you're a kinesiology major, you're probably going to be working with this other part of the population of that are people that are so sick and tired of the same messages that you say something about physical wellness or you say something about health and nutrition and automatically their ears shut. They don't want to hear it because it's always been such a shame-based approach, and always about you're not good enough, and always about you need to do this so you can look like this, and it's all about kind of the external physicality of it all. And I really want you to throw that all out the window. All of it. I want you to throw it all out the window. And the reason why I want you to throw it all out the window is because we're going to talk about it in this class in the terms of overall well-being. What it's like to move through your life in the body that you're given, not necessarily that it has to be this model perfect thing, or not that it needs to be this shame-based, I'm not good enough if I don't look like that airbrushed model that hasn't eaten for 5 months, right? We're going to throw that all out the window, and we're going to invite you into looking at it in a whole new way, because the truth is it's important. And the other truth is that to try to fit a paradigm that is unhealthy and unnecessary turns so many people off and makes it such an emotionally laden topic that people that are already good at it seem to be good at it, and then people that aren't, which is the vast majority of the population, just feel so much shame around it they just totally turn it off. And so I want to really kind of invite you into looking at it in a whole different way. Number one, for yourself, but also for all the people that you will be working with throughout your career. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to pretend that I'm going to give you all a car. Think about that for a minute. I'm going to give you all a car. It can be your absolute dream car. Absolute dream car. I want you to just think about what it would look like, what color it would be, what design it would be. I just want you to kind of let that sink in a little bit and feel like what it would feel to be driving it. Okay, so there's only one catch. And the catch is that you need to drive that car, or this car, the car I'm going to give you, the car that's in your brain right now, from this absolute moment until the moment that you physically die, right? I'm not talking about what happens afterwards, but the moment that your physical being, the human system that you live in, no longer is living. So how would you take care of it? I don't know about you, but I would take care of it really well. I would put, the best gas in it. I would put the best oil in it. I would make sure I was getting very much routine maintenance on it. I would be really, really careful about making sure that I did everything I could to really make that car be the best that it could and run the best that it could for as long as it could. So why are our bodies any different? Right? You're in your body right now from this moment until the moment that you physically die. And somehow we can think about what good care we would take care of a car and not necessarily that type of care for our own bodies. And the reason why, again, is because it's become this shame-based topic or emotionally laden topic that people either don't want to engage, or they're so tired of hearing it, or no matter what they do, it's not good enough, right? You can always be better. And I just want to throw that all out the window, because the truth is that kind of behavior is really damaging. And the other truth is that it really matters what you do every day. And it's every day. It's not that like you have to get to this perfect mountaintop of physical health and then expect to stay there your whole life. It's the choices that you make day after day after day. And what really brought that home to me several different times is, stay with me on the story. It's a little embarrassing sometimes, but when I went back to my 10-year high school reunion, right, it was like, wow, there were a lot of difference in the health of people. And I'm not just talking body size. I'm really not. I'm talking about, you could look at somebody and you could tell how healthy they were. You could tell their lifestyle. You could tell the things that they put in their body. You could tell how much they move their body. Because I know a lot of you are young and you kind of may think that you're just always going to be where you are, and the truth is you're not. And so what you do day after day after day really adds up. It really adds up. And so I go back to my 10-year reunion and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, wow, there's a really big difference here. You could just tell. And then I went back to my 20-year reunion, and now again, this is my high school reunion. These are people that are all exactly my age. We all walked across that stage at the same time, the same night, and got our diplomas. And I'm sorry for those of you that were seniors last year that didn't get to have that. But we were all exactly the same age. I go back to my 20-year high school reunion, and it was astounding. It looked like some of the people there could be the parents of some of the other people. And again, I'm not just talking about body size. I'm talking about the health, the vitality, the way people moved. I mean, it was just such an amazing, amazing lesson for me. And I'm standing there and I'm looking around. I wasn't even saying anything. And a woman comes up behind me that was a friend of mine, but she wasn't like a great friend or anything, but she was somebody I knew, and she had kept herself also very healthy. She was a bicyclist, and she comes up to me and she kind of whispers in my ear. She said, "This is absolutely amazing, isn't it?" And I knew exactly what she was talking about. I knew exactly what she was talking about. And then I went, this goes on for a little while. I went back to my 30-year reunion, and it was amazing. There were people with all kinds of replacement surgeries, hip replacement, knee replacement, walking with canes. It was just like, it really looked like some of us could have been parents to the other. You would have never, ever, ever believed that that we all were the same age and that we all kind of left high school together. Because the vitality and the quality of life, again, it wasn't just the way we looked, but the quality of life between what was transpiring in these people's lives were night and day. And it wasn't because they did one major thing. It was because the little habits day after day after day are the things that began to add up. Then last year, I went back to my 40-year reunion. I've never said that before. Usually I stop at 30, 35 because I hadn't been to my 40th yet, but last year I was actually at my 40-year reunion. And not only did it look like some people could be parents, some people were not moving well, not walking well, all kinds of replacement body parts, walking on canes. I'm not kidding. There were also a significant number of us that had passed away. And most of the deaths in the United States are caused by what we call preventable illness, which means that it's lifestyle. So just the choices that we made day after day after day, and it was just astounding to me. I mean, I look at these people and I'm thinking, wow, am I really that old? But, and again, it's not a value judgment. I don't mean that to come off as a value judgment at all. All I'm trying to say is that what you do every day matters. And the way you look at health and fitness, wellness, physical wellness matters. And if you look at it like I have to be this perfect paradigm, airbrushed model in the magazine, that's not healthy either. I mean, I've told you that I've kind of been all over the gamut in this topic. I mean, I grew up with a weight problem. My dad was this phenomenal athlete, and I felt like he was, no matter what I did, I wasn't going to ever be up to his level. And he didn't push it at all. I don't mean to say that. He never pushed me to do anything. But it was also before Title IX, and I know a lot of you think about Title IX as like sexual discrimination, but part of that sexual discrimination was in boys and girls sports. So when I was young, girls weren't encouraged to move very much. So I didn't move growing up. I never felt comfortable in my body. I had all kinds of body image issues. And then it wasn't actually until my first quarter at Cal Poly, we were on quarters there, my first quarter at Cal Poly many years ago, that I started moving. And then I never stopped. Right? So, I spent the first part of my life not moving very much. I mean, I wasn't like couch potato completely, but I didn't move very much. And then I started moving and I never stopped. So I know both ends. But then I also got obsessive. There were times when I was teaching 7 aerobic classes, not a week, a day. I mean, I would work out hour after hour after hour, and that's not healthy either. I mean, that's not healthy either. And, at that point, it was like, diets, we're going to talk about nutrition next week, but diets come and go and come and go and come and go, and what's healthy and not healthy. And, there was a time when you were just supposed to eat zero fat. And that was kind of the going knowledge of diet. I wouldn't even eat an apple because of the wax on the apple skin. Right, so I went really obsessive in the other direction, and that wasn't healthy either. So to come back around and find out, okay, what is a real sane approach that you can just do day after day after day that really is about self-care. It's not about trying to make yourself look like some paradigm that's crazy. It's not about hating yourself into looking good. It's not about shaming yourself into making yourself exercise. It's about self-care. And so what I want to do is I want to invite you into a whole different way of approaching health, nutrition, fitness, beyond shame, beyond emotion, and all about self-care and what this means to me and my well-being for my life. Okay, so part of that is that we have to wade through all the misinformation out there. Last week you did some stuff on health misinformation, and we're going to get deeper into that next week too, because this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Health and fitness is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they will lie to you through their teeth to be able to get you to buy things that, sometimes it's just complete junk. Sometimes it can even hurt you. I remember, I've been in this industry for a long time, and I've seen a lot of people do a lot of harmful things to themselves in the name of health and fitness. I had, and they recycle this. So I'm going to give you some names of some old products, but they just get recycled through. There was a thing called Metabolife for a while, and it was one of those shakes that that you drank, and I had a student come in once to an aerobics class, and she's like, I just don't feel good, I said, okay, so the first thing I always ask is, what are you doing, what are you taking? And she tells me, okay, so are you taking the normal dose? Because a lot of times people don't. If they take something like that, then they go on the, way overboard. And, she was taking I said, okay, so let's sit down and let's look at the label. And we sat down and we looked at the label. And what she was taking was an equivalent to 15 strong cups of coffee a day. It had so much caffeine in it. And again, I'm not against caffeine, but 16 or 15 strong cups of coffee a day is not good for you. And she was caffeine naive, which is a term we use for people that don't typically have caffeine. So this is a young woman doing something that she bought at General Nutrition Center, thinking that it's really healthy for her, right? And taking the recommended dose and making herself so sick and so jittery that, she thought she was going to have a panic attack or anxiety attack or a heart attack. If you actually went into the hospital with an overdose on Metabolife, they would just treat it as an overdose on speed. Right? This stuff isn't good. Your heart is a muscle. Anything that speeds up your metabolism because it raises your heart rate isn't good for you. It doesn't mean that it won't raise your metabolism, but your heart is a muscle. And if your heart is like beating so fast like a hummingbird's heart all day long, it is not a healthy thing for you. I don't care if it does raise your metabolism. It's not a healthy thing for you. So part of the thing is just kind of working through all the misinformation. And again, I'm going to get into this deeper next week when we really start talking about health and nutrition. But just kind of as a little taster here, the FDA, so there's a whole body of nutritional products that are called food supplements, right? They're not food and they're not drugs. So because they're not food and they're not drugs, they're not regulated by the FDA, because the FDA is the Food and Drug Administration, right? So they're not regulated by the FDA. So what that means is they can claim anything they want. They don't necessarily have to be held to a certain standard. And they're not necessarily safe. And having said that, there's a lot of really good stuff out there. There's a lot of really good stuff out there too. The thing is you've just got to be able to wade through it and find out what's good and what's not good. And if something looks like they're promising you, this beautiful body in 10 days, it's probably not either very good for you or honest, and might really damage you. Unfortunately, a lot of these things, because they're not regulated, they don't get taken off the market until somebody gets really sick or dies. And I say this every year. It wasn't true this summer because of obvious reasons, but every year there's some kid dead on the football field in August because of supplements they've been taking. They're out in August in, kind of full uniforms, full pads, and every year it happens. Every year. And every year I say, oh, it's going to happen, especially in the spring. There's going to be a dead kid on the football field because they're trying to get one leg up, and they're taking things that they're convinced that are healthy for them and are not healthy for them and may end up dying. There was something years ago on the market called ephedrine or Ma Huang. It sounds really good. And that was actually like a legal speed. And it was in all those higher metabolism products, all the drinks that, people drink. And unfortunately, people started dying. And it doesn't get taken off the market until it's found to be really unsafe, and usually it's not found to be really unsafe until people start dying. So there's just a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of empty promises out there, and then people either get sick or they try something that's not for them, and then they fail, and then they hate themselves because they're still not this airbrush model, and it's this just insidious cycle. And so the idea is to just forget all of that stuff, forget the cycle, forget the need to be this body beautiful, and embrace health, physical wellness, nutrition in a whole different way, all about self-care, all about just the choices that I make every day, day after day after day. So what we're doing is we're just trying to create a very safe and sane and loving to yourself, self-loving approach to physical health and wellness. And again, I'm not condemning anybody that does it for more than that. I'm not condemning anybody that is really important to have a certain standard of fitness. You know, you guys know I've said a ton of times that I've run 25 marathons. Running's really important to me. You know, so I'm not condemning that. And at the same time, I'm inviting you into a way of looking at it in a whole new way. I run now because I love to run, not because I have to do it to have a beautiful body. I do it because I love to run. And the truth is now, it's never been easier to control my weight because I just do it because I like to run, not because I have this paradigm that I have to force myself into, and then I hate myself if I don't, and the hate usually takes over. It's like when somebody's on a diet and they're on a really, 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 really strict diet, and you know, they eat a cookie. It's just a cookie. But that's not how they respond. What do? Oh my God, I ate the cookie. Now I hate myself. Now I got to eat the whole pack. And then they eat 3 packs. And then the next day they eat 3 packs. And it's just a cookie. A cookie shouldn't have any emotion linked to it. So the idea is, how do we really begin to develop a safe and sane approach to physical health and wellness? And that's what I'm inviting you into. Not something where you have to go towards a prescribed diet. There's all kinds of prescribed diets that aren't good for you, and everybody's different. So while one person may really go well on a low carbohydrate diet, somebody else may be like surviving horribly. I could never in a million years eat a low carbohydrate diet. I'm way too active. I need the carbohydrates. I thrive on a really high carbohydrate diet. If you put me on a keto diet, I would have just severe headaches. I would be angry. I would be not a happy person, not a healthy person. And then I would fall off the wagon and do all kinds of things that are really damaging towards me. So not everybody should be on a specific type of diet. So what we're going to do is we're really going to invite you into looking at what's appropriate for you in a way that works for you, right? One of the reasons why I had you do the nutrition log the way I had you do it originally was, how do you feel after you eat? Right? We're going to take the value judgment out of food. Did you feel good after you ate that meal, or did you feel bad? What is it about that meal that gave you energy? What is it about that meal that didn't? And you may find some really different things, right? You may find something that you thought was healthy isn't necessarily good for you. You also may find that, oh yeah, maybe when I don't eat so good, I don't feel so good, right? And so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about myths in nutrition, because again, food manufacturers will lie to you. They didn't used to, in the mid 90s, they didn't used to even have food labeling, right? They could lie any way they wanted. They write light in, it could be light in color instead of light in calories. I mean, they could just basically say anything. But now they still lie, they just do it in a more controlled way. For instance, the meat and dairy industry, and again, I'm not saying don't eat meat and dairy, I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying you got to understand kind of the games they play. Because the front labeling is based on weight, right? So if you pick up, let's say, a pound of ground beef that says 85% fat or 15% fat, 85% fat free, right? It's over 55% fat, really. Okay, and the reason why is the front label is based on weight. The nutrition label, if you look it over and you really examine the nutrition label, you can see, no, this is actually really over 50% fat. And again, I'm not saying don't eat meat. I'm not saying don't eat ground meat. I'm just saying know what you're eating. because I had a friend once that this was when ground turkey first came out, and it would say, 93% fat free, 7% fat, and that's all she ate because she thought she was eating a super low fat, super high protein diet. Front is based on weight. Turn it over, it was almost 50% fat. Okay, and again, I'm not saying don't eat that stuff, but I'm saying know where it fits in your diet, because in her head, she was eating a super low fat diet, and actually she was eating a really high fat diet, and she had no idea. Same thing with milk. And again, I'm not saying don't drink milk, but I'm saying that look at the label, right? For something to be labeled low fat, it has to be under 30% fat, right? So if you get we used to have low fat milk. Now we have reduced fat and then low fat, because reduced fat was 2% milk. It's actually based on weight, right? If you turn it over and you look at the calories, and hopefully this will make more sense. If you're not getting this, it'll make more sense next week. But 2% milk is really about 33% fat. And again, I'm not saying don't drink milk. I drink milk. It's not about that. I'm just saying understand where it fits in your diet. Because if that's all you're doing and you think that you're drinking really low fat stuff, you're not. Right? So I'm just saying we need to have some knowledge that's beyond all the lies that we're being told. Because there's mislabeling all the time. Once my husband went to the store and he came home with these cookies, and he was so proud of himself because it said no cholesterol all over the cookies. First of all, neither one of us had a problem with cholesterol, so it wasn't even something we had to worry about anyway, but it looked like it had to get, because if it said no cholesterol, that meant it had to be healthy, right? Cholesterol just means it's produced in some living being, right? An animal, or it has the fat that comes from some living being, right? So it was actually full of trans fatty fats, which we know now is way worse than just eating the cholesterol. But it could label itself as no cholesterol because it didn't come from an animal fat, and therefore lead people to believe that it's this super healthy thing, and they were one of the worst things you could eat, right? So again, it's just about labeling. We have all kinds of I went into the one of the stores. I don't know what it used to be called. It's where one of the Polyfreshes is now, and they were first trying to get something more healthy food there. And I went in. I don't drink very much soda. I'm almost zero, just because I don't like it very much. But every once in a while, I need, I wanted some caffeine in the middle of the day. I didn't want a cup of coffee because it was too much. So I went in there to go get a Diet Pepsi. And again, I'm not saying that's healthy, and it's really rare for me, but I just did. And they didn't have it, which was good, right? They're claiming to be healthy, except that they had every single energy drink you could possibly imagine. Right? Energy drinks usually have a lot of different things in them, but they're just caffeine masked as something else. So it'll say cola nut. Sounds pretty good, right? It's just caffeine. Ginseng, just caffeine. Guarana. Guarana seed extract, just caffeine. Cola nut. Black tea extract, green tea extract, all these different kinds of caffeine. So you had caffeine, and then it had something called acetylacetic acid, which is aspirin, right? So caffeine, and aspirin. Then it had, at that point, it had mahuang, which is the ephedra, which will just make your heart speed like a hummingbird. They took that out, but then they put something called taurine in it, which is an amino acid. People think an amino acid is healthy, but it's not when it's out of balance, and that speeds your heart rate up, right? So they had all of these different things, and a lot of these energy drinks have those. And again, I'm not saying don't ever have an energy drink, but I'm saying know what's in it. Right? Because in some of those, there's a lot of harmful things in what comprises that drink. But people think they're healthy because they'll buy them at a general nutrition center, and it'll say, oh, it raises your metabolism or burns body fat, and it's just toxic to your body. Even sodas. And again, I just gave an example. I'm not never had one in my life, but and even like a diet soda or even a natural soda, the phosphorus if you're a person that has like 6 sodas a day, right? There's a chemical called phosphorus, which is what makes it bubbly. So even a natural soda still has this in it. And phosphorus and calcium need to be in balance, 3 to 1. Calcium 3 to phosphorus 1. If you are heavy soda drinker, it gets flipped. And if you also don't drink milk because you're drinking so much soda, your bone health is probably really suffering. And when you get to about 22, 23, you're at the maximum bone density you will probably ever have in your life. Then it's all downhill. So by the time you see a hunched over old woman or old man, they've been losing bone density for, 60 years or so, and it's way too late to recover it. For you right now, the worst thing you can do for your bone health is drink a lot of soda. And you're at the point where you should be trying to build up your bone mass as much as you can, because once you hit 22, 23, it's all downhill. I've been going downhill for a long time. And again, I'm not saying don't ever drink a soda, but if you're drinking 6 or 7 a day, you might want to rethink it, especially if you are a smaller person, especially if you are a smaller female, and especially if you are a smaller Asian female. Because we see bone density issues quite often in smaller Asian females. And so if you are in that category and you're drinking a lot of soda, you're probably setting yourself up for pretty serious bone density issues as you age. And again, I know I'm just throwing all this out there, but I want you to understand that there's a lot of stuff out there that you need to get educated on. And so what we're trying to do is a two-pronged approach, right? Of approaching health and wellness, approaching physical health and wellness in a really safe and sane way, where you do it in a place of self-love, not a place of self-hate, right? And then we're also trying to weed through all the crazy misinformation out there and all this crazy emotional way of approaching health and wellness, so you don't fall into those traps. One of the other things that we're trying to do, and this is kind of again on the physical end of it, is because more than any other time, and I'll talk about this more when we actually talk about fitness, more than any other time in human history. I know this sounds really dramatic, and I'm not talking about COVID. I'm not talking about COVID before COVID, right? More than any other time in human history, your movement is being robbed of you. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true, right? Not that long ago, you would drive home from work and have to actually get out of your car and go and pick up the garage door and get back in your car and drive in and put down the garage door and actually walk in your house. And then, like, if the phone rang, you'd have to go over and pick up the phone because it was actually against the wall, and you'd have to walk over and turn on the TV, and you'd have to stand there and cook dinner or whatever. You got so much movement just making it through your day that's all being robbed of you. All of it is being robbed of you. And so I know that it sounds dramatic, but it is absolutely true. More than any other time in human history, all your movement is being robbed of you. So, right, that's we're not going to finish there because that sounds really bad. It is really bad. So the next piece is then you have to intentionally put it in. You need to be able to create all the movements that's being robbed of you. And it doesn't have to be a way that you don't like it. The worst thing to do is try to pick up exercise and force yourself to do something you don't like. All you gotta do is move, right? It doesn't have to be a specific structured workout at a gym. You just gotta move. Go out and walk, or go dance, or water the garden, or walk around the house 10 times before each of your online classes. Find a way to really build that in for you. Okay, so again, this is kind of the whole foundation of where we're going with this. I know I've thrown a lot of stuff out there, but I just want you to understand that we're looking for a loving, peaceful to yourself way of engaging in self-care around health and fitness, and wading through a lot of the ugly ways that advertisers will make you believe, make you feel about yourself if you don't look a certain way, and then ugly things that they'll have you buy into just to be able to get you to spend your money on certain things. Okay, because again, there's just so much harmful misinformation out there, but that doesn't mean that you should throw all of health and fitness away, right? There's a third possibility, and that third possibility is really doing it in a way that leads to a higher sense of well-being for you, for yourself, where you actually like moving through the world and like moving through your life, that's not flooded with all this craziness. It's not flooded with all this craziness, right? And so I'm just inviting you into a whole different way of looking at how food is serving you, right? We're not going to be judgmental about it, right? I always say I work out so I can eat chips and salsa, right? I like chips and salsa. I also really like chocolate. And I don't eat a lot of it, right? I want my one piece of chocolate every night, and I do enough things right that that's okay. But I don't eat 10 bars, I just eat one piece, right? So we're gonna try to look at this in a really wholly different way. And again, it's not to put down people that are already into it and already putting a lot of effort into it, and zero about that. And I want to bring along a lot of the people that may have turned it off because they have a shame-based body image, or they have a shame-based attitude towards it, so therefore I'm just going to turn it off completely. I remember I was in sixth grade, the first time this woman, and the problem is she was like this woman that I thought was this goddess. She was a friend of my mom's, and I remember the first time she asked me, when are you going to go on a diet? I was sixth grade, excuse me, but obviously that was impactful for me if I now remember it after my 40th high school reunion, right? So I'm just really inviting you to look at this in a whole different way. So what I want you to do is I'm going to ask you to write some goals for yourself, some health and fitness goals, and it could be as specific as I want to lose 10 pounds. It could be as specific as I want to add, vegetables to my diet so many days a week. It could be I want to run a half marathon. It could be I want to be able to create an exercise routine that makes me feel healthy. Whatever it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tailor the whole program towards those goals. And those goals may change, and that's totally fine. Okay, right now I just want you to throw the goals down on paper, write a narrative about what it is, what they look like, and they may change as we go along. Because as we get into this topic, it may change a lot for you as we go along. But I want you to just spend some time writing down some health and fitness goals, and then you're going to turn that in this week. And then everything that we do is going to be kind of based on what that looks like for you. And then next week, we're also going to kind of you're going to create a fictitious person that is not you, and you're going to also create a health, fitness, and health nutrition program for this fictitious person. It may be somebody you know. It may be a friend of yours. It may be a parent. It may be, so you're going to kind of create a profile of what they look like and what their goals are going to be, but you're not going to do that yet. Probably shouldn't have said anything about that. You're going to do that next week. Right now, what I want for you is I just want you to create for yourself some health and fitness goals. Might be nutrition, might be fitness, it might be both, because we are going to really talk heavily about both. of what you kind of want to do in those areas and why, and things that you might need to overcome to be able to get there, to do that. Some of you may have already done this in your behavior change, and you're just going to kind of put this in, because I know some of your behavior changes were about health and fitness, some of them weren't. But we're going to go over a lot of different, we're going to go over nutrition, what it looks like. You're going to create your own nutrition plan. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you what to eat. I'm going to invite you into looking at this. You're going to create your own program based on kind of the knowledge that I'm going to give you. You're going to create your own fitness program based on the knowledge I give you and based on what your goals are. So it's going to be a step-by-step process. I'm going to walk you through that step-by-step process. I don't expect you to know that right now, right? That's where we're starting next week. But as we need a foundation of just kind of, after what I said today, just kind of writing down now, what are your goals? What would I like to do? If I'm really being loving to myself, if I'm really thinking about self-care, what would that look like in terms of my health and nutrition? And again, just stream of consciousness writing. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. I don't want it to be perfect. I just want you to write, and then we're going to kind of keep molding it as we go along. So again, so what I want you to do is write down some specific health and fitness goals, just some kind of narrative, nutrition and fitness, and then next week we're going to really start getting into what nutrition looks like. So it's also really important that you do the analysis on the nutrition log that I already talked about. Okay, welcome to Health and Fitness.